This is a permanency review hearing before final. Have my parties identify themselves for the record, starting with the department.
Pamela Ferguson, Regional Attorney, representing the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. I'm present and ready with Permanency Specialist Mike Thornton and Supervisor Lori Smith, both from St. Francis Ministries.
Ms. Ricker.
Anna Ricker for Esmeralda Lamona Larcon, Your Honor. Present ready. My client is not in the courtroom today.
Ms. Criswell.
Randy Criswell, attorney for respondent father Cruz Martinez. My client will not be in the courtroom today either.
Ms. Ratliff, are you connected?
I am almost connected, Judge. And Teresa Ratliff for Luis Macias. I've had no contact with my client.
And Ms. Olivas.
Leslie Olivas, attorney ad litem for the children.
And not present is Mr. Garcia, whose client, it may be indicated, is deceased, but Jesus Manuel Gallegos Marquez, served by publication, if he is possible. You know, I need an update first on that, Ms. Ferguson. Was he served, or was it determined that he could not be served in any manner?
Your Honor, he was served by publication.
Publication. All right, thank you.
Because we have had no confirmation that he's deceased. So just in case he's out there, we served him.
All right, thank you. All right, and then also present is Ms. Madrid. Would you state your name and your connection to the case?
Gina Madrid, and I am the relative caregiver for the children.
All right, thank you. So what I need to start with is an update on where the children are and why, please.
The children are placed at Children's Home of Lubbock. We did move them at Miss Madrid's request. She was having some health problems. She was also looking for employment, and she is trying to get her house kind of decluttered and also remodeled to meet licensing standards. And it was just kind of difficult for her to do with the children in her home and in her care. So we placed them. This is just a temporary situation to kind of give her some time to get the support that she needs, and also get, her health under control and her house ready, and give her time to get licensed, and then we can look at moving them back in. I did talk to her yesterday, and she reports that she's hoping to be licensed by the time school starts. So they are in the emergency shelter right now at Children's Home of Lubbock, but I was also told that they could possibly be transitioning over to a cottage altogether.
All right, how are the children doing?
Mike went to go visit the children yesterday because Miss Madrid did have some concerns about Luis and also Delia. She said Delia seemed really sad when she last talked to her, and that Luis disclosed to her that he was being picked on by some of the boys. Luis and Delia, all the kids, did not disclose anything like that to Mike yesterday. He said they seemed happy. He said he talked to the case manager, the shelter staff, as well as the therapist, and none of that had been reported. However, they are going to be watching closer to make sure that Luis is not being picked on. Mike reported that Delia was happy yesterday, and they all four said that they're liking it there. They're having a lot of fun. They're getting to do a lot of activities.
Okay.
So they're all reported healthy. I think that Miss Madrid had some concerns that they might be losing weight, but we looked at their records from their 3 and 30 to their 30-day well check, and they had either gained weight or they were the same weight.
Okay. Are they getting visits with her?
Yes, she has phone visits with them, and she's also able to go get them. I know she's been a couple times. She goes and picks them up from Children's Home, and they go visit her adult children in Lubbock or go do something fun. So,
all right. Well, and Luis is 10, Yasmin is 8, Flor is 7, and Dahlia is 5. Luis and Yasmin have medications for depression. Their review was April 25th. And then Flor has medication for ADHD. Do they continue on with those medications?
Yes.
And weekly therapy?
Yes, they have weekly therapy with Miss Clemens.
Okay. Mr. Thornton, can you hear us?
Oh, I see.
He's having a moment there. Now, Mr. Thornton, can you hear us? All right. Then I will ask about, since we're midway through final hearing, Don't know that there is any contact expected with parents, but if there is, would you tell me what contacts you've had?
As far as Mike has reported, he hasn't had any contact with the parents.
Right, Ms. Ricker.
Your Honor, we have filed a relinquishment on behalf of my client on 4/20. It's in the court check. I've not been given any information or received any communication that has been revoked by my client. So my understanding is that stands.
Thank you. Ms. Criswell.
I have managed to establish contact with my client, spoken to him extensively. He's also provided an affidavit of relinquishment, and he would like to proceed with that, with a termination on that ground only. He does not plan to participate in any further hearings.
Okay. Ms. Ratliff.
Judge, I've had no contact with my client, and I just wanted to clarify when the last time the department made contact with the Mexican consulate about my client. It indicates that the report indicates all the contact was in the spring of 2022. So I'm just wondering if there was any updates on that. But and I can always email the worker. Other than that, I have nothing to add because I know Mike can't get on here, and I'm sure Lori won't have that answer at her fingertips. So I would like an update on that, and I will send an email. Thank you.
And I just want to make sure you know too, there was an order appointing you to the unknown also. Did you receive?
I did, and I'm sorry, I just didn't say that today. Correct.
All right, Ms. Olivas.
Yes, Judge, now that they're here in local, I can go see them. I haven't been able to go see them. I'm going to follow up with the concerns that were posed today. The only question I have is with the department. If Gina wanted to spend the night with them, or she wanted them to spend the night, would that be something that can be arranged?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Okay, that's all I have. But other than that, Judge, I don't have anything else to add.
All right. And Ms. Madrid, I know you don't have them in your care at this time, but you're still going to remain in relationship. Do you have any concerns or worries about the kids other than what we had just talked about?
No, like I had mentioned to Mike and Lori, I know they're not expressing that to Mike themselves, but I've had the kids for over a year in my care prior to them being at children's home. And I can tell when something is wrong with them and the way they just are silent or Luis, every chance I have to speak to them, he's counting the days to come back and he's counting the days that he's been there. So I know that he's definitely ready to come back and we're doing the best we can. But other than that, and Dahlia did seem very quiet, unlike herself when I did talk to her. So hoping that now that I'm going to have more time to talk to them, more days, they added another day for them to call me. And also I will be going to see them tomorrow. And I'm glad Ms. Olivas brought that up because I would definitely be interested in them coming to spend the night over so they can feel like they're still part of the family.
Okay. All right. Well, did I miss something? Okay. I will approve the kids' placement, finding it safe and stable and meeting their needs. Day 2 of our final hearing will pick up on July 20th at 9 a.m. If for some reason we cannot complete it in that day, we will have another review hearing September 21st, 2023 at 9 a.m., both by Zoom. Is there anything else, Ms. Ferguson? Loera, this
No,
is
Your
a
Honor.
permanency review hearing before final. Let the parties identify themselves for the record, starting with the department.
Pamela Ferguson, Regional Attorney representing the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. I'm present and ready, perhaps with Mike Thornton, Permanency Specialist. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to get on. He's having technical difficulties. And Supervisor Lori Smith, both from St. Francis Ministries.
Didn't seem that he could even see us. So if he comes back, we'll definitely bring him in. Ms. Criswell.
Randy Criswell, attorney for respondent mother, Ms. Mendiola, and my client is also present in the virtual courtroom.
Ms. Trevino.
Liza Trevino, appointed to Father Jacob Luera. I'm present. My client is not.
Mr. Ricker.
Your Honor, Phil Ricker on behalf of Tristan, present and ready. My client is not present for this hearing.
And Casa.
Jordan Norton Casa.
All right. Tristan is 16. He had a lot of trouble maintaining placements. So he was in a facility for care for some time. And I guess I'm not clear if he is still in a step bed or returned to a step bed. So Ms. Smith, would you tell me his current placement?
Yes, I'm going to do the best I can do with this one. He was hospitalized prior to the step bed that he's in right now. He was placed in this step bed on June the 9th. He was at Dallas Behavioral Hospital, May 15th through June 9th. His current step bed is,
It's in Fresno.
yes, in Fresno.
Okay.
They
And then,
have, oh, I'm sorry. Go
no,
ahead.
you go ahead.
They have located a RTC for him at Prime Residential, but we're in the process of getting things ready to transport him to that.
There was mention of a referral to state hospital that specializes in care of autism. Has that been able to progress?
Well, we had a recommendation from the Dallas Behavioral Hospital of Terrell State Hospital. However, when we spoke with Terrell State Hospital, they said that there has to usually be 2 doctors that recommend something like that. And then they have to assess him in person, and then it would be a waiting list. Also, I think there's a process that we have to go through with state office through DFPS to even have that happen. Of course, if it was recommended by another physician, we would for sure, or a psychiatrist, we would for sure look into all of that. I just
In
really
the
hate-
San Antonio area, there's a couple of RTCs that specialize in autism.
Yes, and so I did look into the autism center in San Antonio, but he was denied due to his aggressive behaviors.
The
Okay.
biggest issue with finding any RTC, Your Honor, and not to overstep you, Lori, we've
No,
looked
you're
at
fine.
every RTC in Texas. The violent conduct is the problem, and you know, it's not just a little violence; it is a little scary sometimes, and so
Yeah,
that's
it's
the
pretty
reason the
extreme.
RTCs denying those.
Mhm.
Is it correct that the autism diagnosis is new as of April of this year?
Yes, ma'am. We finally was able to get that diagnosed, and him actually identified on the spectrum. So that's when I reached out to the Autism Center in San Antonio, because I've had success with another kiddo there, hoping that that would help. But due to his aggressive behaviors, they can't accommodate him.
He does have medications, of course, which were reviewed at the hospital, but it looks like his medications were reviewed May 3rd and May 26th, including risperidone, Civalproax, a seizure medication, and ketamine. So any day he'll be going to the RTC.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is there anything new that's happened? Mr. Thornton, can you hear us?
Yes, I totally apologize. I had to reboot like 3 times.
I see that. Well, we're talking about Tristan. So my question, Lori had told us what she knows of where he's going. He's going to the RTC. Has there anything happened since the date of the report? I know things tend to happen with him.
He did change placement to the permanency, bridges to permanency. He's in the step bed.
Okay.
We covered that.
All right. Thank you. Any visits with parents or other relatives at this time?
He calls his grandmother almost daily, if not every other day. And he's always asking for his mother and father to call, but he's always telling me they have not called him.
Okay. Ms. Criswell.
Judge, I just established contact with my client yesterday, so we haven't had a lot of time to speak. She would like to address the court if that's okay.
It is, and for the record, I did have to provide her with a new attorney because her attorney had moved away and was not able to participate. Ms. Mendiola, what would you like to say?
Hi, so I understand and I heard, with all the placement, how that autism center in San Antonio, how, it would be a benefit for him. And I totally get that and understand that. But see, I think with his aggressive behavior, the problem is where when he's able to have his phone and all that stuff. And that's what he doesn't seem to understand, that he cannot have his phone or, anything like that. Because the second that you tell him no to whatever he wants that he can't have, that's when he starts to get upset and where his aggressive behavior comes from.
Well, thank you. That is something I want to talk about because Mr. Ricker had mentioned it in his ad litem's report to the court. So So, Mr. Ricker, tell me, I guess Tristan is asking for his phone. He has a tablet.
Yes, Your Honor. I spoke to Tristan yesterday, and what I can tell the court is he has requested his cell phone. I did discuss with him some of the reasons that may have already been mentioned here about why we haven't provided a cell phone to him, and I was hung up on. So I had to call placement back and discuss these issues with him. He would like his cell phone. Placement thinks, and of course this stepdad has had Tristan for a short period of time, would like the cell phone because she has used the iPad for effective parenting techniques, you know, to say, hey, if you don't go take your bath, I'll have to take away your iPad. And she's hoping the cell phone will provide an additional aid to having him do some of the things he needs to do on a daily basis. And I just simply explain, you know, I will make that expression to the court, but as far as what's in my client's best interest, I've really just been deferring to the psychiatric facilities that he has been in to make those types of decisions, since I think there's some connection between his phone and his mental and emotional behaviors.
Mr. Thornton, when he arrives at the RTC, he wouldn't be able to have a phone in possession, would he?
That's correct. They actually said they would not accept him if he had his phone. And just for some background, the last placement forgot to put it in his bag, so they have mailed it to this stepdad. So he will be getting it, but his grandmother has already turned it off. So it won't be doing him any good, but he will have it.
Well, won't that just set up a rage? Would it be better for the placement to keep that in her possession and him not be aware of it?
What I have talked to the therapist about is leaving it up to her, and maybe he only can use it during his sessions, and she explained it to him.
But it's disconnected?
Yes, but his apps can still go through Wi-Fi.
Okay.
He just won't be able to make phone calls.
I wouldn't want to be able to go over that with him, that his phone is in his possession but disconnected. Does he know that that's likely to happen?
I've already told him that it's been turned off by his grandmother, and she told him also.
Okay. All right. So, Ms. Mendiola, your point is well taken. If he has possession of this phone, it will only be until he arrives to the RTC. So he's going to have to be the one that releases it to the RTC staff.
Okay. Now, as far
that's
as
a question, ma'am, hang on, that's a question. Mr. Thornton, Tristan is going to be responsible for letting go of it and handing it over to the RTC staff.
When the current placement gets it, I can have them either keep it and mail it to the grandmother, or, you know, Tristan will never even know that it's arrived. I can do it that way. That way he'll never get possession of it.
Mr. Ricker, I know that's not what your client wants, so I'm going to ask CASA, would you have an opinion on how the cell phone should be handled, whether he should have possession of it for this brief period of time or not?
I currently don't have a position on that. I'm somewhat new to the case, so I'm still learning about Tristan. I've had contact with him once, so I couldn't say that I have a position right now.
Okay.
My client does have an iPad, though. I mean, he does have access to some technology for fun things.
Okay, and Ms. Mendiola, what else?
yes, so if even if he were to have whether the iPad or the phone, it still wouldn't be good for him, only because being that there's Wi-Fi, like y'all had mentioned, he watches the whole Five Nights at Freddy's on YouTube, and that's just a lot of it shows about killings and stuff like that, even in a cartoon version, which is not good or healthy for him. So I really don't think that he should have any of that stuff with him.
All right. Ms. Criswell, anything else for your client?
No, Your Honor.
And Ms. Trevino?
I have nothing to add, Your Honor.
And Mr. Ricker, was that the extent of what you needed to address for Tristan?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And CASA, you've already expressed, but any other concerns that you wanted to raise today?
Just making sure we work towards a more permanent placement. I know the state hospital wasn't an immediate possibility, or just working towards an RTC that has some specialization in autism would be helpful. Yeah.
Okay. And I think I lost track of how quickly he will be going to the RTC. Was that stated, or it's unknown how quickly he can go?
It'll be this coming Wednesday, the 21st.
All right. Well, Mr. Thornton, talk to placement and y'all decide if him having the phone for this short period of time is going to be helpful to her, or it's going to be just all the much more worse. Sounds to me like it would be worse, but I'm not there and I don't want to micromanage when I'm not in the midst of it. So if you in placement will figure out a plan and then be consistent and stick to it, I think that's all we can expect right now.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. We will have another review hearing September 21st at 1:30. Actually, we're going to move that because we have final hearing that same day. So permanency review hearing and final hearing will both be at 9 a.m. Permanency review hearing September 21st. If the parties identify themselves for the record, starting with the department.
Pamela Ferguson, Regional Attorney representing the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. I'm present and ready with Permanency Specialist Lindsay Schroed and Supervisor Lori Smith, both from St. Francis Ministries.
Ms. Merle.
Jennifer Merle, attorney for Jackie Hawkins, present. I believe my client is present also. I haven't had recent contact with her, so I guess if she needs to speak with me, I don't know, but you're both present.
Your audio's too low.
You not hear me at all?
I can hear you a little bit better now.
Okay. I'm present. My client, I believe, is present. I haven't heard from her recently, so I just wanted to make sure she didn't need to talk to me before we proceed, but we're ready other than that.
All right. So, Jacqueline, did you want to talk to your attorney?
Yes, I've been trying to get a hold of her. I don't think she's been able to reach me. I mean, either at the emails that I've sent her, because they've been just here and there. But yeah, I could talk to her real quick.
Okay, we will take a brief recess for y'all to visit. I'm going to make a breakout room. I won't be able to hear you or see you, and you will not be live on YouTube or recorded. So when you see the prompt, if you'll transfer yourself to the breakout room, it'll take me just a minute. And Ms. Ratliff.
Lisa Ratliff for the alleged father, Anthony Vera, who's present with me. By Zoom, he's at the Terry County Jail.
And Mr. Chambers, who represents Intervenor, was present in the virtual waiting room. He's not there now, but his client, Ms. Jocelyn, is here. And ma'am, have you been in communication with him? Is he in another court?
I did remind him of the court hearing. I'm unsure of why he left, so I haven't had any contact since.
Okay.
Your Honor, it's Rusty Duncan today, and I bet you there's bad service down there.
Oh, there's a legal seminar going on out of town. That's what that is. Okay, it's possible. All right, and Mr. Ricker.
Your Honor, Phil Ricker on behalf of the child attorney ad litem, present and ready.
All right, final hearing is coming up August 17th at 9 a.m. Ms. Ferguson, could I have service for the record?
I believe that Miss Jaquez or Hawkins was served personally on September 23rd. I need to check on this. Sorry, Your Honor, my watch. I need to check on Mr. Vera's service, Your Honor. Let me.
Anthony is 9 months old, and he does remain with his aunt and family in Lubbock. My voice came back. This is a court-ordered placement. He is doing well. He doesn't have any developmental services, at least none were reported. Ms. Schroed, does he have any ECI or anything of that nature?
No, ma'am, he does not.
Okay. And Ms. Jaquez, do you want to tell me how he's doing? Any concerns or victories y'all have had?
I don't have any concerns about him. He is doing well. He has his teeth in. He's starting to try to talk, not exactly words, but he's using his voice. He's trying to crawl now, so he's doing very well with that. So I don't have any concerns with him. I just believe that he's doing perfect on his drawing.
Very good. All right. Ms. Schroed, tell me about parents' progress and services and what they're working on, if anything.
Okay. I haven't been able to locate Miss Jaquez since the end of February. So her services, she hasn't engaged in any of them, and any drug screenings that we did send her to prior to when I lost track of her were no-shows. But she hasn't participated in any, and her visits have been suspended due to her missing 3 in a row, and then she hasn't gotten in contact with me to restart those. And then Mr. Vera is incarcerated, and so The only services that he has been able to complete are he's been doing parenting packets for me. And he has done the paternity test, but we haven't received the results of that test yet.
That was my next question. All right, Ms. Merle.
Your Honor, my client has had some delays, I guess, some setbacks. She only recently got her, she's getting a phone and she has a laptop now, I guess. The transportation has also been challenging. She is wanting to participate in services or reinitiate.
Oh, Ms. Merle, you went on mute.
Sorry. My client does want to participate in services. So she'll be getting in touch with the worker as soon as she gets her telephone set up and see what she can get done.
All right, thank you. Ms. Ratliff?
Judge, I was able to meet with Mr. Huckus, he is in the Terry County Jail. Judge, he's got a very high bond amount, $64,000. He doesn't really have any updates on his criminal charges and what's going on there. He expected to be in some sort of pretrial conference or hearing today on that, but that didn't happen. So I'm going to have to look into that. He did participate in the genetic testing. I think it was only done last week. I understand that the kiddo's in a family placement, but I don't believe that's been explored with him. He's expecting the paternity test to come back, that he is the father of this child. And he has another child, Kate Morales, and that child's mother is Casey Morales, and she was interested in being considered for a home study. And so I have a phone number for her, and I will pass that on to the worker. And other than that, I have nothing to add to that. I'm sorry, that was very unprofessional, but that I remembered I wanted to request a settlement conference as well before the final.
Mr. Ricker, thank you for filing ad litem statement in compliance. You mentioned some problems with clothing and vouchers. Do you want to tell me about that?
Yes, Your Honor. I went and met my client yesterday. Last time we talked, we're hoping to set up kinship funding and then get a foster care license so that we could have some foster care funding. We're moving on that path to kinship license, but this isn't anybody here, so I know these are the rules, but they had to buy a new car in order to qualify for kinship funding. And so now they've purchased a new vehicle. They've installed smoke detectors. The last step is getting all their pay stubs of the worker. But in the meantime, my client is wearing about 18-month clothing, and he really probably needs to be in 9 to 12-month clothing. And I remember knowing that we have access to some clothes at the Rainbow Room. And then also placement says they got a gift card or kind of a card from the department for $100, but it won't let them set up a PIN and it won't let them run it as credit. And so I know that she's working with the worker on trying to figure that out. And then the last piece of the pie was placement mentioned they were waiting until their next paycheck to get a big reload of Pampers and wipes. And I wasn't sure if we had access at the Rainbow Room to Pampers and wipes as well, or, diapers and wipes as well. But those are questions to bring up.
Those are good questions. Yeah, Ms. Schroeder?
I can answer that. We are working on the addendum. We just got some final things that we needed as of yesterday for me to be able to do that addendum. The Terry County Child Welfare Board is actually the one that provided the gift card to Ms. Jaquez. I will get with the president and see what we need to do with that. We have also had our parent support worker work with Jocelyn about a program that provides free Pampers and wipes. I don't know if she has engaged in any of that, but I will reach out to the Rainbow Room and see if we can get her some until we can get this addendum.
Ms. Jocelyn, did you want to say anything about the diapers or trying to get those?
I'm sorry, you're cutting out.
Couldn't hear us?
You were cutting out. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was cutting out. Or Lori was.
I'm sorry?
Both of us are cutting out. Did you say you couldn't hear Ms. Smith?
No, I heard her. I just couldn't hear your question.
My question was, were you able to get any access to diapers or wipes yet?
I didn't get any access from, of course, the help. We do pretty much stay stocked up. It's just mainly his clothing is my main concern.
Okay. And I think Ms. Smith and Ms. Schroeder will get that straightened out, why you can't use the gift card.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Mr. Ricker, anything else?
No, Your Honor, he's happy and healthy, and he has, so there are now 4 boys in that house, basically under the age of 6 or 7. And when I got there, they all 3 kind of went over and they like to show him off, and it's a lot of fun.
They like to show off Anthony.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to put a 10-day notice. This is a court order placement, of course. Just to make it clear that he should not be moved, I'm going to put the 10-day notice in place. The department in St. Francis are welcome to proceed on other home studies once paternity is established. However, this child should not be moved except by further court action, except in the event of an emergency. And I am approving Anthony's placement, finding it safe and stable and meeting his needs. As I said, that final hearing is August the 17th at 9. That will still be by Zoom. We will have a permanency review hearing after that on September 21st, 2023 at 1:30.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. All right, the law does require, yes, Ms. Ferguson.
Your Honor, I was just touching on Ms. Radcliffe's request for a settlement conference. I didn't know if the attorneys wanted to get a date and get that ordered or just circulate dates after the hearing.
I'm happy to wait while y'all get a date. That way you can do an order and get everybody while they're here in one place. I'll let you work on that and then I'll approve it and sign off on that. And there's Mr. Chambers as well.
Thank you.
The only thing left to do is to warn Ms. Jacqueline, your parental rights can be terminated or restricted in this case. You haven't worked services or visited with your child in some time. It's very critical that you remain in contact with your attorney and that you contact Ms. Schroed if you hope to visit and stay where people can find you, okay?
Ma'am.
All right, we are adjourned.